Hello, I am Annemie, and thank you for joining me for Inside Dragon Quest Heroes 2. This is a collaboration between old Dragon Quest developers Enix, now Square Enix, and Koei Tecmo, the Dynasty Warriors people. And it is a combination essentially of those two games. So before we continue, I will give a quick warning that there might be some mild story spoilers ahead. Nothing really that the intro itself didn't give away. I'm going to go through one of the side quests in the game and just generally talk about how it feels and how it plays. So, let us venture forth. This is my save here. I've played almost 30 hours, probably about 30 hours with replays of stuff. So I'm a good way through the game. I've got maybe about 4 of the 5 story achievements. So we'll see how it goes. So as many of you will know, Dragon Quest has a history of saving at churches, and it is no different here. This is the hub town of Accordia. This is the only town in the game. There are other places which in the world are towns, but they don't function as a town. You've got your alchemy shop here, you've got your weapon and armor sellers, and various other things throughout, along with, you know, your smattering of NPCs. So, what we're going to do, have a look at quests, and we are going to kill this Barbatos. It only appears occasionally, so let's hope that it is where we want to be. So, the way this game is broken down, you essentially have 2 different types of areas, ignoring the main hub. Up here, you have wild zones and you have war zones. So, wild zones would be your typical overworld type areas that you might see in your Final Fantasies or your Dragon Quest, any other number of RPGs where you're wandering around kind of between other things. So you can find these rocks about, and once you actually find them, they will let you fast travel to them using guild spell Zoom. But you'll find enemies just walking around out here. You'll find items, and they will sometimes hit you, and you will hit them back. Typically there aren't that many out and about, and you can quite often just walk past them without really getting into combat if you don't want to. But sometimes it's nice to. You get a good amount of experience, you get some items from this, and it's important. One of the side quests running throughout the game, which requires you to kill an inordinate number of each different type of enemy. These are taking a little while to get through. You'll notice that, much like in, say, a Dragon Quest game, you have party members, and you can freely swap between these party members as you will. They'll all have different abilities, so I have Annemie, who, when she is unnamed, or rather hasn't been named by the player, is called Teresa, and then there's her cousin Lazarus, Lazarelle, I've called Anna. Now I can't actually pass through here yet. A little cutscene. So Carver here is offering to punch it down. Carver is one of many characters in this game who actually come from previous Dragon Quest main series games. You find these throughout. There are also original characters, so main characters here, they are original, so is Bizarre here. And there is one more whom I've left in town because I don't like her so much, Desdemona, the warrior barbarian. Right. So here are these rocks I was telling you about. They originally start out red, and now they are blue, and you can zoom to them. So let's have a look. Right, these are nasty because they chase after you, and they will hit you, and they are themselves relatively hard to hit because they are flying, and oddly enough, it's harder to do combat when you are in the air. Oh, that looks like the Barbatos over there. So, monster nearby. Guessing that probably actually is the Barbatos. So, let's run up to it. There are sometimes these formidable monsters, and hitting them will give you your typical battle transition, and it will lock you into an actual combat, as has happened here. So, can't get out of this, but I don't want to because I want to kill this individual. You will find that when they attack, quite often they will leave circles on the floor. Those are area of effect type things, and you do not want to be inside them when they go off. This person's going down relatively easily, but this allows me to start talking about the combat system a bit. So it's your standard light attack on X, heavy attack on Y, and you can jump and do flying attacks, and then you hold down the right bumper in order to find your special abilities. You can set these special abilities. There are more than 4 available that you can only use 4 at any given time. Go. Look at that. So, done the side quest. Now we can zoom back to Accordia. Zoom here functions very similarly to in previous Dragon Quest games. Full disclosure, I've only played Dragon Quest 8 and bits of 9. So I'm not exactly a series veteran, but I have put my hours into Dragon Quest 8 on multiple playthroughs.
Needs your help.
Completion of the quest. What do I get for this? Lovely music. And
Congratulations.
an enchanted orb.
Take care.
So that is armor. So if I look at equipment, you'll notice that there are a number of slots here. I have a weapon. Weapons make sense. Some people can equip shields, but most people can't. You have your orbs, which are armor. So you've got a whole host of them down here. So let's see what enchanted orb gives me. Ooh, that's a good defense. I will equip that. And then you've got accessories. And accessories are the interesting bits of equipment lie. So you might notice that a lot of these have got some interesting effects. So with my Titan belt, I can find weak points on enemies. I can do extra damage to them. With my Reckless, I can increase my coup de grace damage, whatever that is, and my Adamant Pendant will eliminate recoil, along with giving me some extra stuff as well. For this one, free revival. I don't know if that's ever activated. I don't tend to use Anna all that much. Tends to be my healer, and I tend to prefer dealing damage. So my healer has a 10% chance for free revival if they get knocked out, and don't know what the difference is. Well, I've got some amount of chance to revive instantly on death, and oh, I think the Block-It Locket allows you to, when you're reviving other people, it doesn't use your consumable, something like that. You can ignore damage. You've got a variety of other things. Now, you'll notice that a lot of these have got numbers after them. That's not true for all of them, so you'll notice that the difference between Slime Earrings plus 10 and regular Slime Earrings is an extra 20% helping hand from Helix, an extra 10 max HP, and an extra 2 defense. You can upgrade any of these if you want, and you do that by going to the alchemy pot. You no longer mix together weapons and armor and all that stuff in order to give you a variety of things. Only enhance accessories through the alchemy pot. And go through this. this, you find the thing that you want to upgrade. The things in yellow mean that you can actually upgrade them. So if I go to my slime earrings, you'll notice that I've got 4 different sets of slime earrings, and these are all of their levels. So I've got 3 at level 1, one of them is at level 10, so plus 10 I guess, maybe level 11. And these are the items that I need in order to level it up. Powdered slime earrings mean that I have to actually grind down these, but you only get 2 from each. I can't do that one yet, so let's see if I can find something. Probably can't. Reckless. If there's something. There's nothing. Here, so let me upgrade. Go for a gold bracer. So the ingredients required are on the right up there. I need 2 not colossal fossils and 1 iron ore. I've got loads of both. Put them in. Don't have to wait this time round. And
Ooh.
get out the advanced bracer. And you can keep doing this as long as you have the items. The higher levels require more items and all seem to require a number of powdered versions of the same accessory. Okay.
Do come again.
So, town, and now I want to talk a little bit about actual character design going on here, because Dragon Quest has a history of incredibly charming character design and general look. I mean, look at the world around us, it's blooming gorgeous, except for that very noticeable poppin'. So we have characters from previous games, like these two here. That's Perry on the right of the screen and Carver on the left. And because you have characters from old games, some people might find this a little problematic. So over here, this is Ina. I think her character design is rather lovely. People might have a small problem with the fact that both her and her sister seem to be of, I would say, Indian inspired. And she is a fortune teller. Some people might not like this foreign mysticism supposition, but I'm kind of okay with this. What I'm less okay with is her sister, Aya, who is designed as, I want to say, sort of a belly dancer, exotic dancer. Like this, her outfit is actually lampshaded when you go to the snow level, because there are, as you would imagine again from these sorts of games, you have grass area, sand area, forest area, snow area. I've not yet come across a lava area, although there are areas that do have lava in that I've come across, but nothing that's very fire-based. And she goes up the mountain, Mount Everest, dressed like this, and complaining that other people didn't tell her that she should have brought a coat. And while this is true, I don't think the lampshading makes it much better. Now, she is a character from the previous game, so I'm willing to give that a bit of a pass. What I'm less willing to give a pass are characters from just this game that have just been designed for Dragon Quest Heroes 2. And this is one of them. This is Desdemona. Let's see, she's wearing some boots, a chainmail half skirt, and a plate mail bra. I would like to note that he also went up the mountain. He was not complaining at all, despite the fact that that must have been, actually, even if we think that it's got leather padding inside the edges of that against non-insensitive skin, that wouldn't be great, to be honest. And he's supposed to be this fantastic warrior and envoy, and I don't know why the character designers had to go for that, especially contrasting that with my costume here, which, barring the shortness of the dress inside, I really like this. This is actually one of the optional costumes, which was provided as DLC, And Dragon Quest Heroes 2 does the right kind of DLC in that it's free. They've provided, I believe, 5 content updates since release, and that's it. And all of them were provided free of charge. So if you buy this game, you get a whole game. I think it's a bit of a shame that you only get 3 outfits. So this is the standard one which you're wearing at the start. There's one I'm currently wearing, and then there's this Dragon Quest 1 inspired outfit. And your cousin, you can see here, gets the same choice. Not wearing the same outfits, obviously. I wish there had been a few more of these, but the fact that there are some is pretty good. You can also transform your weapons if you really like the look of one of your weapons. You can say, okay, these are my favourite claws, I'm going to have these for looks, but I'm actually going to equip other weapons, and those will be all give me the stats. Which is a neat little feature for people who want their characters to look a certain way. Throughout this room, you also have the ability, I believe this is the multiplayer area, I've not actually done the multiplayer yet. You can change class here, and you can change the party. And see Angelo and Jessica from Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest VIII.
Welcome, my child.
So there is a strong class system here. I've currently unlocked 6 classes. Top 5 come as default. You have to unlock Gladiator, essentially by getting Warrior and Martial Artist to a high enough level, then doing a side quest. And there's another one called Sage, which you do with Mage and Priestess. Now, only your 2 main characters can change classes. The other ones are stuck into it. And there's a good choice here. You'll start off from level 1 in each of your classes, and then you'll allocate skill points in order to level up your classes. So all your characters have got these. You can see the ones that I haven't used because I haven't assigned any skill points to them, and the ones that I haven't used in quite some time because they still have a lot of skill points. Let's have a look at Mina. So usually there will be a number 5 or 6 rows up top here, which are all about increasing your statistics. I believe your statistics will increase just with level as well. I've not checked this to make sure, but it certainly feels that way. A character who is level 8 is far more survivable than one who is level 1, even without any skill points put in. But these are all your quote-unquote boring skills. They're just your passive buffs to your stats, so it can increase your HP, your MP, your strength, your resilience, so your defense, your wisdom, so your spellcasting power, your deafness, which is through your crits, and that's about it. Not all characters have got everything, so for instance, Mina here can't increase her resilience, but Cesar can't increase his wisdom as much as Mina can. Makes sense because Mina's a spellcasting character, there's multi-heal and the whoosh family of spells, so she's going to be more wisdom focused. That's at the top here. On the left hand side you see your spells and abilities. These are your equipable abilities which you saw me use beforehand. So she has access to the whoosh family of spells and to multi-heal and a few others from another system which I'll talk about in a bit. And then finally we have a load of generally more unique skills down the bottom. So for instance this one here will increase the amount that multi-heal works, makes multi-heal more powerful, which is useful for a healer. This one down here, which is the one I'm actually saving up for, allows a number of spells to be used for absolutely no MP cost. Then you've got ones here that extend tension, which I've not talked about yet, but tension is in the game. But for me, the issue with the skills here is that none of them feel groundbreaking. I've never noticed a huge difference between levels. So we see that Cesar has various things up here which again are fairly similar, just sort of increasing some of his abilities, improved block effectiveness, and then tension stuff. Same here. And that seems quite cool. Yggdrasil leaves are how you get people up from being unconscious. And it's just a little bit boring. I'm not excited about a level up. And largely that's because, while you would think that these over on the left are your exciting abilities, you are limited more or less to 4 of them. You can't change these on the fly in battle. You have to be out of battle to change them. So, for instance, let's look at Cesar. He's got Thunder Strike, Magma Strike, Glacier Strike, and Solar Flare. And got a number of bang-based abilities. He's got Bang and Boom, but I don't like them as much as the others, so they don't really get used. Which means that I've now spent some ability points on something which is not useful, and that's not fun. I like the system I've got set up here. I don't know if I like the new abilities, so I'm loath to actually risk it. You can respec your characters. I think you do it at Gabitable Trades. Yeah, you can reassign skill points, but I think that does it globally, and it's not something that I kind of want to risk at the moment, because I don't want to spend 5 minutes restatting everybody. But so, I think, okay, Annemie hasn't actually got any spells and abilities from the left-hand slot, so what abilities does she actually have? Well, get some starting off from your equipment, so Multi-Fist and Flying Fist, and I think Divide and Conquer as well, are from just having claws, from increasing your proficiency with them. So the more you use a weapon, the more proficient you get, the better you get at using it. And this was, I think, just from leveling up. Both myself and my cousin can use the Zap family of spells. I've got some actual proficiency, so let's actually increase it. So you go to this Sensei individual, martial artist, and we'll get some new abilities. So get some greatsword bonuses, which I like, and we get a new party power, I think. Or that might just be Cesar's thing. So let's have a look. So these are party powers. That's not a party power. You get those every now and then, and you have a certain amount of points to spend them. Each of them costs some points, and you can keep equipping them as long as you have the points for it. It's very Final Fantasy IX, that sort of way. And you've got a large variety of things to choose from. You can even get Kazapple, which is sort of the ultimate spell I had to go on a quest for that. But again, I've not massively noticed differences. I might get rid of cheap tricks because it only reduces the MP cost by 1. Oh, it is large power. There we go. Let's have that one. Let's give myself some more HP. Okay. So that's a lot of what progression is. You can get your weapons and armor as you would expect. None of that gives any bonuses to abilities. Oh yeah, the last thing I wanted to mention about character models is this disappoints me so much when you see player characters that are actually really quite cool. I really like this. There's a character who is not wandering around here, who essentially looks like a peacock-crowned Brian Blessed. I'll see if I can put a photo in this video to actually show that. There's also Helix over here, whom I absolutely adore. They are a companion that is always walking around with you. They essentially give you 5 party members, but they're not used for attacking. And they are kind of like a child playing at being a general. And they'll run around and give you healing every now and then. As you can see there, in various cutscenes they do have a voice. It's, again, much like previous Dragon Quest games, where in cutscenes they'll be fully voiced, but outside there it's just text. So I'm going to head to Bedrock Road and show you a war zone. I'm not actually going to do a quest in there, but once you've done the story missions in an area, you can revisit them and just there'll be endlessly respawning monsters around which you can kill for experience. Use me, Madam Dinosaur. This bit's a bit of a pain because there are rocks that roll down and can knock you into these pits, which will cost you some health. It's not too bad, it's not an insta-kill or anything like that. Usually you are just going to run past these enemies because they're not really worth too much by themselves. If they're grouped en masse and you can kill them easily, that might be worth it, but just by themselves is not. So this is a war zone, nicely separated from everything else with a dotted line, which reminds me very much of Final Fantasy XII. Been done in loads of other games, but that's the one that sticks in my mind the most. Life. Let's just keep hitting you. So, I'm going to talk about a few of my complaints that I've got about this game. So, the first is, make sure I'm on the right map. I want to be on. I think I'm actually on the right map. Yeah, this is the right map. It's actually changed a little bit since I was last here, I think, or I'm in a different section. I'm in a different section. So this combat system is great against sort of massed groups because you don't need to be too precise when dealing with large groups, and most enemies you can't actually lock onto. You can lock onto essentially what will be in the Dynasty Warriors series of games, sort of the captains and the gatehouse masters or whatever they were called. I've only played a couple of Dynasty Warriors games, but so you can lock onto these big individuals, but the small ones you can't lock onto, and in Dynasty Warriors games that's kind of fine, because you don't really have to worry about them too much, but all the enemies in this game have got different abilities, and that's great, because you want them to keep the character that they had from the main series Dragon Quest games. But it means that you do actually want to target certain groups more often than others. So, there are sorcerer type enemies, and they can turn invisible and then fly at you and knock you out of a combo, which is a massive pain. So you want to target them, but you can't really target them all that well because you can't lock on. These enemies are another case in point, these flying individuals. I'm locked onto the tree behind there, I can't actually lock onto those. And because they fly, they're a bigger nuisance to actually get to, because a lot of the attacks which you do from the air are targeted to the ground, like so. And I'd quite like an ability to stay in the air. But the other problem with lock on is that it only locks the camera on. So you notice that I'm locked onto this tree bill here. So let me use Zap. Zap happened in the direction I was facing, not from the direction of the enemy I was locked onto. And sometimes that's useful. But also, even if you are facing in that direction, it won't modify the distance that the attack goes. You are kinda stuck with a certain distance, which makes certain attacks less useful than others. So let me switch to Caesar for a demonstration. So Caesar, when he uses his elemental attacks, his sword gets charged with that elemental power. So I'm charged with thunder. Next attack I do is a thunder attack. If I do an ice attack, I get ice on my blade, and then I get sort of a ranged multi-ice hit. And you'd think that you'd want to use these different attacks against different types of enemies who might be weak to them. But I find that I now never use fire, because it's a ranged attack, which puts up a plume somewhere in the vicinity. You see that even though I was placed at the most roughly the right distance, it missed. And that might have been because I didn't gauge the distance correctly, Or it might have been that the enemy moved, but it just feels like you're not doing as much damage as you could. And it makes things a bit of a pain. And that's also partly why I don't really like using mage type characters, because their main damage is range might be spells like Frizzle and so on, where you're actually having to point, and then enemies move laterally out of your way, particularly in larger battles, and you've just wasted a load of MP. Now you might remember the enemies I told you about that kind of surprise you. Turn invisible. Oh,
Mistress indeed.
Mina died. Let's run back and save her. I didn't use heal. He's the healer as well. So in the bottom right you see a number of Yggdrasil leaves. These recover at the start of each battle or whenever you return to town. So they're kind of semi-consumable. Once you've used them, they will return, just not for the current encounter. So yeah, you don't want to really use things where you're going to miss a lot of the times, and I find the AI tends to be better at hitting than I am.
Oh no, that's not him.
Well then, yes, that's the king of Alakazam, one of the rulers of the area, and they are a wizard because Dragon Quest loves its puns. Okay, so there was an actual mission in this area, and this is going to describe one of the problems I had with this. I think it was actually the other area, but my point will still stand. And a load of Moorkeepers sprung up, and Moorkeepers are enemies who will keep summoning more enemies until you kill them. They'll open portals, and just enemies upon enemies will seek you out. And during this mission, you had to protect someone. And the best way to do that is to turn the taps of enemies off, right? So you run up here, you kill the Moorkeeper, and then the next one is quite some way away. In the map, I'm thinking of this. I think that pathway might have been there, but there was another pathway which wasn't, so you'd have to run all the way down, and down. And this is going to go for a while, so I'll just tell you when we actually reach the place. And this right here, perfect timing, is another of those problems. You see, I just dropped out of running. That was not me pressing a button. You can't run if you're within a distance of a certain distance of large enemies. If you're in combat, and you automatically go into combat near them. You can't force yourself out of combat. So you just have to wait until you're out of the area, and then you start running again. But then you come next to another Hell Lion who forces you into combat again, and it's just a bit of a pain. So I'm going to keep running. One of the other problems of this game is that you don't feel like you have a lot of control over your build. So I talked about that problem with leveling up, but it also means that you don't feel like there's too much in the way of variety for what your character can do. These are the invisible enemies. So one of them, anyone actually went invisible. Let's see if I can find another. Let's keep away from them. Oh well, let's keep going. There are a couple of the enemies. So, see, went invisible, and then they shout at you, and that knocks you out whatever combo you're doing. And if you've started an ability, say I've started Thunderstrike, and one of those comes up to you, that will knock you out of that, but that will still have cost you the MP, even though you haven't done any damage, and you can already see how irritating these are. So the next Moorkeeper was about here, so I had to run all the way around the map in order to get back up here. There wasn't really a shorter way to get here. And I get that it's trying to build up tension by increasing the amount of time that enemies have to do damage on the thing that you're trying to protect. But it feels artificial. Put more enemies in there, which might actually be fun the slice food because, quite frankly, that's why people play Dynasty Warriors game. It's to kill large hordes of enemies. Or don't inflate the difficulty. So I'm at a good level now to deal with these, even though I'm significantly further past the level at which you would have done this mission. So this isn't actually taking too long, but a lot of the enemies can also feel very bullet spongy. And that's a pain. You have some ways of dealing increased damage, and at the next one of these I come across, I will show you that. So, tension is a mechanic from previous Dragon Quest games where you'd essentially void your turn in order to build up tension in order to do more damage. Next turn you could keep building that up until reaching a state of high or super high tension where you would do insane amounts of damage. And obliterate whatever was in front of you. There is still a mechanic going on here, although because you're not fighting sort of one or two enemies, it's a bit beefed up. So you see the purple flashing bar next to Cesar's portrait in the bottom left. That is your tension. When it flashes, you're in a state of super high tension, and you can
wish you had not angered me.
have a little cutscene, and you now can't be hurt, and you can use all your abilities without spending MP. The bar will slowly drop down as you're in this state for more and more time. You can't get out of it earlier to save tension, you use it all at once. And then when it drops to the bottom, you do your coup de grace.
Enough.
We saw I had a reckless, which would boost this damage, and that will do a really pretty large amount of damage,
Leave it to me.
as you would hope for. Ooh, got a mini medal for that. Mini medals in this are more farmable than in, say, Dragon Quest 8. I think in Dragon Quest 9 you could farm them as well. So the other thing which makes combat a bit more interesting is you see at the bottom here I've got a number of monster portraits. These are monster medals which I've picked up, so sometimes when you kill an enemy, as that one just there did, it will drop its medal. Pick up the medal, and you gain abilities. So this one here is a sentry type,
I'm counting on you.
and will just be summoned until it goes away and will attack for you. You have a load of other... What else? That's sentry type. You've got savior type, like the Hell Lion.
I'm counting on you.
Look here, it will do its thing, in this case have an intimidating roar, and then go away. And finally, as you can see here with this saber cat I've got here, you have substitute medals. These will turn you into them, and they are incredibly fun to go around as. It only lets you do it for a certain time. My health bar has been replaced with a timer. I believe if you get hit, that timer does also drop faster, where you can stay in the form and you've got about 3 different attacks. New, I like this attack. Yes, does the job quite nicely. So I'm now going to go into high tension mode. Hopefully get rid of these individuals quickly. And
I hope you're ready for
then
this.
my coup de grace. Which I did at approximately nothing. Because I wasn't paying too much attention. Because I was reading my notes like a silly. Ooh, treasure chest. Oh, no, no. Mimic. Oh, Anna died. Where is... There is Anna. This might not be going so well. So, you notice that you can just switch between characters quite quickly. You can also do it with an ability. Tag trick. This is the only time that I really use Anna. But you can do that between all the characters. I quite like arenas, as it's a wonderful crowd control thing,
Destiny calls.
which just sort of swooshes around you. And again, that makes it quite nice and dynamic, and they tend to be really powerful, which I tend to do more for these sort of meat shield ones. As you can see, these guys are taking quite some pounding, but they're giving me mini medals, so I can't hate them too much. I think the last thing I really want to talk about is the story. You might wonder how I've managed to talk about what is essentially an action RPG for so long without really mentioning the story, and that is because the story isn't great. There was a twist which happened fairly recently in the story, which I'm not going to spoil, which did actually take me by surprise, but everything before that kind of felt like it was happening by rote, and every story twist is happening multiple times. So you might notice that Cesar is in my party. He is a player character, he is on the good side. Except that when you start the game, he does not seem to be on the good side. He is launching an invasion of the country in which you currently are, the country of Harbour. So you see that, then you see the intro sequence, which I showed you, because I skipped it during the actual intro when I first played it. And that did take a bit out of it for me. I was like, oh, well, he's not actually evil then, he's just mind controlled or something like that. And that happens a few times with different characters, which is disappointing, and there's nothing particularly general about it. I mean, the characters are generically good and fun characters, which I like. There's no one who is particularly dislikable here. But again, there's no particular standout. When I started playing this game, I thought that I would be doing everything with Angelo and Jessica, but even they are not particularly exciting, and to be honest, I find it slightly weird that the voice actors have changed. But that's just me, and I guess no real fault of the game if they couldn't get the voice actors back. Yeah, so you can evac from the combat you're in, return back to the wild zone. So, I think I'm going to wrap up fairly shortly, and I'll just leave you, I think, with a few closing comments. I enjoy this game. It's a sort of game which I play whilst listening to a podcast or something like that. If you wanted a game story, I wouldn't recommend it. If you want mindless hack and slash fun, this is a good version of it. I think that Dynasty Warriors might still be preferable for the actual hack and slash purists, because it doesn't, from my experience at least, have the same issues with needing to focus on one of a group of many sort of mooks, all which have their own special powers. It doesn't have that problem. But if you want to feel like you are in an RPG, but on a larger scale, I think this could be for you. I like it. I wouldn't have spent 30 hours in this game if I didn't like it. I think the way I would possibly describe it best is like Kingdoms of Amalur on crack. Because the combat feels fairly similar to that. The one thing I will say is do not play this unless you have a controller. The key bindings are weird. Keyboard settings. So as you can see here, what it's essentially doing is it's mapping the keyboard to the controller, and then it's the controller's theme. So B, H, space, and N to represent the face buttons. That's weird. Camera also works on mouse, so this is less needed. But then D-pad left and why is it doing the directional pad in a linear combination of keyboard inputs but the face buttons are keeping the same directionality. That seems backwards. You can rebind these all you want. Whoops. But even so, it's just strange. I don't think you'd be getting much out of it with a controller. Sorry, with a keyboard. Controller feels really good. So, I think I'm going to finish it there. I like this game. And if you like hitting large groups of enemies, I think you might like it as well. Thank you for joining me. Have a nice rest of your day.